Today, I'm visiting one of the great castles of England, Rockingham Castle in Northamptonshire. It was built over 900 years ago, and throughout its history, it has transformed from a military stronghold and symbol of royal power to a domestic country house and intimate family home. Join me as I explore Montague family connections, literary and artistic inspirations, plus I'll be lending a helping hand with some of the daily tasks which are all too familiar to me living at Mapperton. When I married into the British aristocracy, it was the start of a wonderfully exciting journey. But it was also a little daunting. I became a Viscountess, and for an American girl from a small town outside Chicago, that was quite a shock. I live with my husband Luke, heir to the Earl of Sandwich, and our family at Mapperton House in Dorset. Living in a place like this is a joy, but also a challenge. And every day we're aware that we're preserving a very special part of Britain's heritage. Mapperton has opened up an extraordinary new world for me, and I can't wait to share it with you all. So if you love castles and manors and stately homes as much as I do, please join this American Viscountess as I journey into the British countryside in search of some of Britain's finest historic houses.
Hi, Julie. Very lovely to see you.
Nice to see you.
Come in, come in.
Thank you so much.
Coat?
It's cold out there today.
No, it's definitely that January post-Christmas day.
But I'm feeling the warmth in here, that's for sure.
Well, come into the fire. So, Julie, here we are in the Great Hall. This is part of the original Norman castle. It was the hall that was built by when William the Conqueror.
William the Conqueror.
Yes, ordered it in 1067. We know that. We also know that it was in the Domesday Book at 26 shillings value in 1086.
Unbelievable. So really, I'm standing on 1,000 years of history.
Absolutely.
And you know, the Great Hall is, for me, is just a fascinating concept because it's really where everything happened. Is that right? Everything.
Well, you've got to have a little bit of imagination because what you're in today is a Tudor construct, which is 400 years, 500 years later.
Right.
The original Norman Hall would have been a big barn, going straight up to the ceiling, a couple of open fires, reeds and rubbish on the floor. The king would have been living at the far end, and everyone else and dogs, and don't ask me where they went to the loo, because the smell and the feel, you've got to be sort of, it's very difficult today, it would have been quite sort of earthy.
Right.
It would have been twice the size.
For 500 years, from the Norman conquest to the Tudor period, Rockingham was a royal castle. During this time, successive kings and queens of England visited, with some adapting the castle to their own needs and tastes.
Edward I did the first makeover. This is 1260s, and he put in central heating. No, he put in the fireplace.
He put in the fireplace.
And he put in the windows.
Okay.
And he built, up there would have been the minstrel's gallery.
Right.
And above it, he built a chamber for his queen, who didn't like slumming it with the troops.
Right, incredible.
So you've got a lot of sort of medieval. The difficulty is you have to imagine it here, because so much has been replaced by what other generations have done.
Right.
And so my family came here in sort of 1540 and finished doing the reconstruction, because the date is 1579 on the beam.
So your family arrived here Tudor period?
Tudor period.
Tudor period. So your family's been here since, well, what, 450 years?
So
incredible.
Shall we go through to the library and have a coffee?
Yeah, I would love that. But I have just spotted Rather, I mean, this is quite a beautiful portrait of Elizabeth I. I assume it's her, yes?
Yes, it
Am I
is.
right?
Yes. It's painted by Gower, and it's quite a young portrait. I think probably painted when she's probably 20, 25, 30.
Right.
She doesn't look not like those later ones where she was very much an icon and heavily
very fierce
made
looking.
up.
Yeah, exactly. But did she ever visit Rockingham?
No, but she stayed locally, and she had lots of. One of the extraordinary things about this part of the world, it was very, very rich, particularly Tudor houses and wealth, because a lot of her closest advisors lived close by. So there's William Cecil, who was at Burghley, which is only 15 miles away. You have Apthorpe, which was another palace. Fotheringhay, which is where Mary Queen of Scots was executed. That's 15 miles away, but there's nothing there. It's just a mound, very fine church.
Right.
You have Kirby Hall, which is literally 4 miles away, which is semi-ruined, but was Christopher Hatton's house. It was fantastic.
My goodness! Oh my goodness!
You know, we are so rich in big houses, big estates, but it's all of that. A lot of it is around that Tudor period.
Is around that Tudor period. I know when I was driving here, there were so many brown signs telling me to go to visit this hall and this house.
Yeah.
But it's really rich with historic houses around here. You could just castle hop all day long.
Oh, you could. Well, I should have said, of course, well, the Montague connection at Boughton.
Yes, no, of course. I did see the sign to Boughton on my way here. Exactly.
Let's get have a coffee.
Great.
But Julie, actually, this is part of the joy of Rockingham, is that it's been mucked about with over the years as each generation has adapted it to its own use. You've just walked out of the medieval hall.
Yes.
You're now into a Victorian, rather heavy, but Victorian staircase to take access to the first floor. A corridor that was added on to the Tudor wing so that you didn't have to go from room to room, that you had a bit of privacy. And then you go back into the Tudor house.
So I'm going from medieval, Victorian,
which is 1850.
Right.
To back to 1560.
To Tudor here.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And then you're into a room which was 2 rooms, being turned into 1 room by the Victorians as a library.
Right.
And then redecorated in Georgian style, so 1760, by the Edwardians, which is, you know, so it's all a bit bogus, really.
So the Edwardians came in here, redecorated it, but Georgian style.
Georgian style. Well, it was very interesting. There was a sort of reaction, as you get with every generation, that sometimes you like what went prior, sometimes you don't. When I came here as a child, anything that was Victorian was despised. It was disgusting. It was grotesque. It was over the top. Nowadays, actually, it's much more fashionable. People quite like
it is. It is
Victorian stuff.
It is.
Come and sit down and
brilliant.
have a seat
warm
by the fire.
Fantastic. And I was just, as walking in, I was looking at all your wonderful photographs of your family. So, how long have you been here?
We moved here in '99. My father, having inherited in 1967, and I came here when I was 10 in 1971.
Okay.
So that's when we moved in, when Michael, my great uncle, handed over and moved down to your neck of the woods, down to Dorset.
Yes, so this is what I'm obviously fascinated about as well coming here, is the Montague connection here.
Yes.
So it's your, Michael Seymour, who lived here at Rockingham Castle, married Alberta Sturgis's, who became the 9th Countess of Sandwich, an American like me, her daughter Faith. So Michael married Faith.
Absolutely. They moved here in 1948. Michael had inherited the castle through the female line. We're not very good at male heirs in this family. And we also, so the female is a very important person.
Brilliant.
So I think it's been through the female line in my family about 4 times.
Fantastic.
And Michael inherited from his great uncle, who was the last Watson, and he was 16 when he inherited, because his father died within 3 months of the old vicar dying, and they had double death duties, and it was a great thing. You must know.
Of course, I know.
If you think after the First World War, so many estates were broken up. The young heirs had been killed on the Western Front.
Yes.
And everything was done. And Michael was determined to keep the house together. And he went off to the Navy, following the family tradition. And
age 16.
He was at Dartmouth at the time, but he was he, age 16, suddenly inherited this great shock, and they let it, this is the luxury, to an American, to pay the death duties.
You're kidding me.
Yep. So from 1925 through to 1932 or 33, an American family called the Emanuels,
and they let it out.
And he came and lived here with his family.
That was quite clever of Michael.
Very clever.
For 7 years.
For the American to come here, something had to be put in. One of them was baths.
Yeah, I was about to say. Many more baths.
And the other thing was central heating. And I think actually the downstairs loos were added.
Right.
So there was quite a bit of work done to make it comfortable for this American family.
That's incredible. So that American family then helped pay those double death duties.
Absolutely.
And then Michael was able to keep it in the family because so many homes were lost after the First World War.
Very much
so many homes.
He was fascinated in running the estate and making sure it all worked, and get right from the moment that he had inherited as a young man, although he had a career elsewhere.
So then he married Faith, what I think I've read is 1947.
Yes.
And then they came here and lived here. And I mean, I'm doing my dissertation for my master's on Alberta Sturgis because she was an American like me. So Faith, of course, is then half American. So Michael did marry a, half American.
It was very important. It was an enormously important source of revenue for these old tired estates to find some wealthy,
exactly,
energetic, dynamic
American. Exactly. But then they didn't have children. So what I've read is that they experienced quite
they had huge trauma.
Yeah.
Huge trauma. Faith had been married before.
Yes.
And had lovely Gemma, who Michael adopted as his daughter.
Yes.
And then Michael and Faith tried to have children, and they had one, Francis, who lived for 3 months, and then two that were stillborn. And what is rather ironic is that Faith was rhesus negative, which is that issue where your blood cells attack, you as the mother's blood cells attack the baby's blood cells, and it all. And my wife is rhesus negative, but nowadays all you do is you take a jab.
You take a jab, right?
And it's not a problem.
Right.
When we were born, you had a full blood transfusion. And so poor Michael, who desperately was, to him, line was so important.
In 1967, Sir Michael Cum Seymour passed the castle and estate to his nephew, James's father, Commander Michael
My father was brought up here. This is where the family lived, and most of my family, most of my uncles and aunts were born here.
Right.
And it was still pretty basic as a house. I remember Dad saying, you used to jump over the buckets where the holes in the roof were. And Michael and Faith came here in 1948 and took over the house, and they did the most extraordinary work to try and make it more comfortable. And they closed the old kitchen, or stopped using the old kitchen, created a bit of a flat at one end, which is where they lived.
What did they do to this room?
This room, they decorated it in a wonderful apple green, looked very light apple green, not heavy, beautiful.
Yeah.
Rather sort of, the curtains, all I remember, there was some brown velour, velvet curtains, so very typical of that period. But it was rather mean. There was no furniture at that end of the room. They all sat round this fireplace, and it got to a stage where all of the paint, particularly on the plaster, started to look really chipped. And then we had a crisis with dry rot, which is all these old houses, you always get something that tweaks you.
Right.
And so 10 years ago, we completely took it. It was a big exercise, because you had to take all the books out, take the bookshelves off the walls, and we rehung in here and changed it from green to this drag blue. And this carpet is a modern copy of the carpet which was here, which is the one over there.
Okay.
So we created this synergy of actually making it one big room rather than it being a sort of ante-room.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a real living space. It's very cozy. It's lovely. And you must spend lots of time here.
This has always been my favourite room. Partly I love being surrounded by books. Actually brings back one of the points that's so exciting about these houses, is that because they're owned in private hands, and they are lived in, and they're family homes, that is a real attraction to the visitor. And they love the idea that this is not just a museum.
Yes.
And it's, and the amount of times that I've had to go around when the children are younger and sort of kick a bit of plastic under a sofa so that it's not on display.
Exactly.
But we've been open, this place has been open for Michael and Faith used to open it rather sort of on a Thursday afternoon because it was a half-day closing, and they would come in the Great Hall, and Faith would grump at them and sort of take the money, and it was also, and then when we came here, my parents were much more commercial. So you've got I love it. This is a little bit of sort of history of the house is open. So this is
Look at all these guidebooks.
This is the 1950s guidebook,
Right.
which was written by my grandmother, and I'm not sure how much of it is true and how much is more sort of. And it's
some of those good
you know, you
stories.
look at it, it's about 10 pages, not a picture in sight.
No, not a picture at all.
So that's
your mother did this.
my grandmother.
Oh, your grandmother. So this is Michael's sister.
yeah.
Right. Wonderful.
And then you have this was the sort of 1970s guidebook. So you know, there's the library, as it was.
Ah, as it was with the green. Yes.
And no furniture.
And no furniture. Fantastic. Okay, so that was your father.
That was the first one Dad
Yep.
did. Can you date that?
Yeah, I can. That is 1980s. Look at this.
Sort of
It's
like cartoon
brilliant.
sketchbook. Really.
It is. Oh my goodness. Look at this. And then what about that one?
This is one, well, we've actually just redone it, but this was the one that was done when we first came here. So there's some bloke with hair in the front. And red trousers. Oh, God. You know,
And look at your young family there. But I've just turned to the Watsons of Rockingham page. And of course, I've spotted here Lady Faith Montague, who married, obviously, Michael Cum Seymour, daughter of the 9th Earl of Sandwich. So we've made it into your guidebook.
You've certainly made it.
So pleased. So pleased. Well, there we are.
But I would also point out that it's not the only time that the word Montague appears. If you go right to the top of
Really?
the left-hand page, Edward Watson.
Edward Watson married Dorothy, daughter of Sir Edward Montague of Boughton.
Who I think is the father of the Montague family.
Yes, he certainly is. We have one of his portraits hanging at Mapperton, and it's my mother-in-law always tries to hide his hands because she says that they look like fish, so she hides them with a plant. But that's him. He's really the founding father of our family.
We have another one as well. I think he handed them out a bit like sort of confetti. But we've also got a picture of Dorothy, which I'd love to show you.
Oh,
So
I'd
should
love
we go
to
and
see that. Yeah,
should we go and have a wander down?
Absolutely.
Follow me.
Lovely
Yes.
that we're in your guidebook. Are we in the new one too?
Yes, you are, definitely.
Okay, good.
Before showing me the painting of Dorothy Montague, James stops off in the panel room, a room at the heart of the evolution of Rockingham.
You're back in to the old Norman Hall.
Right.
And this is the other half of the Great Hall with the Great West Window. It's where the King's platform would have been. Actually, the window is Tudor, so we have to be a little bit careful. I don't think that would have been there originally.
Right.
This is decorated in about 1670. So when I talk about Rockingham having a little bit of colour from each century, this is the Carolean Charles II room.
Yes.
And it was the Lewis Watson, who is his father, had a disastrous civil war and he lost both his castle and his silver. His wife was a parliamentarian. This room is a room of reconciliation. You've got all the family coats of arms.
Yes.
It's dedicated to the mother. And this panelling, interesting enough, is pine because oak was in short supply due to the fire of London. And the Victorians stained it to look like oak.
To look like oak. How fascinating. I mean, it's just incredible what they did. So what do you use this room for today?
Well, it was the Victorian dining room. And then
Right.
Michael Cum Seymour used this
Right.
to hang his
Right.
20th century pictures. It was a sort of winter sitting room. My father remembers coming in here to play parlour games. But this is when we have the house full, this is the bit at the party room.
Right.
You've got the backgammon table here, and it's the only sprung floor, so this is where the dancing happens.
It's the only sprung.
And you sit there slightly terrified that things are going on and something might get broken. But I wanted to show you this. This is the most lovely portrait of Michael. Captures him by Maggie Hamlin. And he was a great, great personal friend of Maggie's. He really encouraged her to get going. And they knew each other intimately. and you can just see that she's really captured his spirit and his character.
And can I tell you that I recognize this because we have the study of this hanging at Mapperton. We must have received that study from
Michael.
But it is, I mean, now for me, I've only seen the study, obviously, walking by it, and now to see the actual portrait painting is incredible. I mean, she is just outstanding. I mean, wonderful.
Now we need to go and see our joint relative.
Exactly. Yeah, so we are cousins, is that right?
We are. And here, I happen to know, having been to Boughton, this is Sir Edward Montagu in his finery as Chief Justice of the Pleas. And there is a picture of him at Boughton, and he doesn't look like that. He looks fearsome.
No, we at Mapperton.
Have you got the
we
fearsome?
have the same exact. We share that same portrait.
Really
Fearsome,
scary.
and with the ruffled collar and the hands.
These are not too bad.
No, they're not too bad. They don't look like fish. So there he is. Well,
But
he's much younger in this one, and he seems a little bit happier here.
Yes.
But look at him being very grand and putting his Montague crest up there.
I know.
And you know.
But I think that's the equivalent of the signed photographs, isn't it?
But
it was sort of handed out to all of the acolytes.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it does say on off the executors to king.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are, 1556.
So he was he was the executor of Henry VIII.
Of Henry VIII.
Yeah, which is why I'm sure it's why we have Rockingham, because he would have, this was a royal castle. It was his. He would have facilitated the lease.
He would have facilitated the lease.
Because this is Dorothy, the daughter.
Ooh, she looks quite fierce. So that's his daughter.
Yes.
Right. So that means that she would be the aunt of Edward Montagu, the first Earl of Sandwich.
Absolutely.
There we go. We really are related,
You are.
James.
You know, there's the connection. She's quite a sort of terrifying lady. But I rather like this portrait. I think the detail, I think it probably is very accurate, and that's what she looked like.
Yeah.
You know, there's none of that sort of lily making you look terribly beautiful and rather sort of standardized face. That is what she looked like, and I love the detail of the bodice. And
do you know what's extraordinary though? You know, I came here thinking, oh yes, there's this Montagu connection with faith, and this is brilliant. But I had no idea at all of this other female connection. Right here.
Shall we go and see? There are a few more relatives, as I refer to them, the portraits in the gallery.
Absolutely.
Let's go upstairs. Now you've gone out of the medieval hall, back into the Victorian additions, rather lighter staircase, which gave access to the gallery.
To the gallery.
And the gallery was originally an exercise room. A Tudor house always had a gallery, and the gallery was there for people to exercise during the cold. You would come up here and you would walk up and you would perambulate up and down.
Really?
And it was originally a third as long, and then after the Civil War, when they rebuilt the castle after the Civil War, it was only built to 2/3 length, and then it would have been used by the Georgians to hang, which is all these big portraits.
Yes.
The sort of portraits. Yet another.
So it became a gallery.
A gallery, as you and I would know.
Yes.
And then the Victorians turned it into a sitting room. In a sense, it encapsulates the sort of the story I keep on talking about Rockingham. Everything changes, and different people use it in different ways. And today is probably the room we use least, because it's the most difficult room to use, if only because of the weight of the floor. That if you ever do anything with any volume of people in here, you have to put joists underneath to hold it up, because it floats. Then if we look back out the window, we've looked at how the house is used and how it's a domestic, I'm not going to say home, because that's probably rather grand, but actually you look back and then you've got the old medieval castle.
Yes.
And we need to go and have a look at that. We need to go and see that actually there was the defensive side, and we've still got some of that wasn't knocked down after the Civil War.
Right. Well, I can already see, even just from peering up here, that you can just see the lay of the land
Oh,
here.
you can see why they chose
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Your commanding position in this with two natural valleys. It's quite obvious why they chose it.
Unbelievable.
Shall we wander back a little bit more exercise, possibly?
Yeah.
You stand here. What is it? It really is. It's carpet bowls, actually.
Exactly. There we go. Perfect.
When you come to Rockingham, this is what it's a castle. It looks like a castle. It
Yes.
feels like a
Yes.
castle. You can see the curtain wall, what's left of the curtain wall running up to your right with the Norman tower and then the motte, which would have been behind that wall at the top, which is now the rose garden. That would have been where the keep was. It was dominant. We're sort of sitting down here looking up.
Yes.
You turn round and you have this, what is our sort of iconic towers. But what's really interesting about them is that they're not unique. They may be familiar to you because they are identical in size to the entrance gateway, Edward I entrance gateway to the Tower of London. The only thing about the Tower of London is it looks different, is that it's got another story. So being 3 stories, it looks slightly narrower and less dumpy and
Right.
squat.
Of course. I thought it looked familiar, to be honest. Yes. So Tower of London just has one more story.
Has another story in a bit more, and then the crenellations.
Right, and
So
then it's got the portcullis.
But
Right.
it has the portcullis. And the reason we know that is that there was one plan when we were looking at trying to develop the visitor experience here, that people come here thinking this is a castle. And it looks like a castle with this wall, and you can see it dominates the landscape.
Yes, of course.
But you walk through, and it's like a stage set. Well, where is the medieval bit? Well, it's sort of gone and moved on. We thought at one stage it'd be quite fun to put the portcullis back, and we needed to have a template. So we sent the maintenance team down to the Tower of London because they've got a portcullis there just to see if the mechanism. And then they did the dimensions, and they're absolutely identical. So obviously, Edward I had one stonemason and one designer, and he used the same footprint everywhere.
Same
But
blueprint. That's
with the same blueprint.
incredible.
But you can see here's the groove of the portcullis.
Oh, yes.
Sadly, you haven't got it hanging down, and you can see where the winding gear.
Oh, of course you can. Yes. Incredible.
But we sadly decided not to do it. Actually, I thought it was becoming a little bit too much of a film set and rather ridiculous. But actually, the main reason we didn't do it is that you can't fit the winding gear. We've had it sitting proud of the crenellation.
Okay.
So that idea failed. But it is a medieval gatehouse.
Of course it is.
And
It's
it sort of gives you a
wonderful.
wonderful impression as you walk in.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Then you're in, and you sort of. And you imagine coming in on your horse or your carriage. It sort of sits up there.
And with the flag right there.
Yeah. Oh, it's very good. The flag's flying rather well today. At least you've got a bit of a breeze.
I know, its flag's looking fantastic.
So you get a sense of arrival. Why did they choose this site?
Yes.
What was so special about this site? Why here? And you can see it so clearly when you get to the edge. You can't see anything over the wall.
No, you can't.
You're
It's
climbing
very
up
protected.
towards the wall, and then you get this extraordinary view.
Look.
The Welland River running through the middle here, and you see the site, and you can see how it controls.
You can literally see mile after mile. Absolutely, this was the perfect spot.
So in front of you, you see the whole evolution of time of the castle. You have the
love
cross
it.
gable of the old Norman Hall. And you know, I was saying it was twice the length. When you were inside, I said it's the whole length, and you can see it. It was an enormous tied barn.
Yes, absolutely.
The medieval castle, essentially that big
Right.
building, the curtain wall, which would have gone all the way around, and you would have been
protected.
protected.
Yes.
In 1544, James's ancestor, Edward Watson, was granted the lease to Rockingham from the Crown and set about transforming the medieval castle into a Tudor home.
He, first of all, built this wing, originally a third as long, came right out to the end.
Yep.
I don't think he ever finished it. Built the wing going that way, put the bedrooms in, so you've got the bedrooms on the first floor.
Yes.
With the gabled end.
Yes.
And these 3 wings connecting to the curtain wall. And then you've got equivalent wings going up the other side.
It's absolutely fascinating hearing James decode the phases of building here at Rockingham. The English Civil Wars during the 17th century divided families, and like the dissolution of the monasteries in the century before, destroyed so much of England's architectural heritage.
Lewis Watson, who was the grandson of Edward Watson, who got the lease on the castle, he entertained James I. He bought the freehold of the property in 1620 and was a successful royalist. His second wife was a Manners, who were parliamentarians and lived at Belvoir Castle. So he hedged his bets. He sent his silver to Belvoir to be safe with his brother-in-law, while at the same time flying the royal standard here, thinking he was safe in his castle. And he got it wrong, because the parliamentarians captured the castle and he got locked up by the king for losing his castle in Belvoir Castle, which the king had taken.
Oh my goodness.
And all his silver. But he was then pardoned.
Oh, he was.
And he came back and he joined the king at Oxford and was made Lord Rockingham. And then after the Civil War, he came back here and he spent a lot of time trying to get all his bits and pieces together. But he built this little building here and lived in here while they rebuilt the rest of that. So that's a rather pretty restoration building.
1665, I can see.
On the date is on the drain pipe.
Yeah.
And then you get the Victorian additions. You've got the gallery staircase that's been tapped on there.
On there. Yes.
And then the flag tower, which was put there to balance the fact this wing's not as long as the one on the other side.
I see.
So it's not this. Now I have one little secret I want to take you to.
Okay.
Because there's something, we're going back to the medieval, but we have a little surprise inside the castle.
Okay.
Come with me.
All right, exciting.
This is a house with all sorts of different bits and different quirks.
Well, there's
and
a lot
different...
of doors. That's why I'm getting
confused.
confused.
My God, you get
confused.
You get completely confused. So you come in, and so we're now going to get into the service wing by turning left. And here you have, you've got the colour scheme. You're still in the old hall. That's the butler's pantry. The bell pools.
Oh, I love those. Brilliant.
They're all a bit broken, I'm afraid.
Tower bedroom, tower dressing, tower bed. I love it.
And then you go out of the old hall. There's the wall.
So this is
That
the
is
wall.
That's the wall. So how thick it is.
Oh my goodness.
So you're out now. You're going into that first gable. Those.
Yes, yes.
And you have the
All making sense.
housekeeper's room, the kitchen. You're in the service part of the house.
Yes.
But we're going back to the medieval.
Oh my goodness.
A cobbled street
No.
leading up to what would have been the keep. So here's the curtain.
I just feel like I'm actually like on a set of like of a medieval feature film or something.
And this is where the service wings. So you would have had your brew house. You would have had your.
Can we walk through it?
Of course you can.
Can I walk on this?
You can walk on these things.
So this, it was just where all the storerooms were.
Well,
yes.
it was there's the kitchen, which I just showed you. That's the ready-use larder store. There would have been brew house, woodshed, bakery. The bakery is in here. And then that building at the end, the Victorians turned from a house into the laundry.
Incredible.
And it's if you've got a moment, we'd love to show you. It is the project to do. And so this is the problem child. It's a wonderful building, but it epitomizes the problem of owning a historic house. There are always going to be areas which need work, and this is probably the worst description of needing work. It's watertight,
Yes.
it's dry,
Okay, well,
it's
that's
safe,
brilliant.
which is great. It also, you've got to store today's commercial
course.
stuff.
I was-
These are Santa's postbox.
Exactly.
The pumpkin. I'm
For
trying
the
to think, I'm
Halloween
not
trip.
quite sure
Look
I'm
at
not sure-
this. Look at these crows here. Who made this?
The scarecrow.
This is brilliant.
And so I thought, it might make a rather smart office, until I got a quote of £750,000. Nearly,
said
I was going
no.
to say $1 million, and I thought, no, I don't think.
No.
But it'd make
No.
a very good yoga studio, wouldn't it?
It would be.
You'd love
right.
it.
I would
But it's-
love it.
And
This could
particularly
be.
the first floor would be wonderful. The light would be lovely.
That's
It'd
right.
be
You
really-
could check in everybody here, have sort of like your locker rooms down here, and
Yeah.
then you go upstairs and you do yoga. There
There
you
you
go.
are.
I'll just have to somehow raise some funds for it.
I know.
Exactly.
One of our big problems.
Exactly.
Built after the Norman conquest of 1066, Rockingham was a royal fortress, a symbol of Norman power and a strategic stronghold between North and South England.
The layout of the house and the castle was 2 baileys with a motte. So this was 1 bailey.
Right.
And the other bailey we'll see as we go around the corner. And then this was the motte with the mound, not here because this is the spoil. And there would have been a moat. The moat would have come round. So that is,
Yes.
this is the moat that would have gone round the keep to act as the defence. So if you think
course.
of Windsor,
Yes.
Windsor is exactly the same design as Rockingham. It's the same designer built Windsor that built Rockingham. And so the keep would have been here with a motte originally on top with a wood stockade, and then it was stone. And it was you can imagine, you see the dominance of that keep. And it was there until the Civil War. And then at the end of the Civil War, the parliamentarians said that these places could not be refortified. They knocked them down.
Here at Rockingham, you get a real sense of how vast the castle complex would have been.
In the 1670s, Lewis Watson, the son of the fellow who was here during the Civil War, basically came and he created a 17th century terrace garden. So you come up, every level is slightly different,
Right.
and they're all about 5 steps. And then they've created, there's a sort of pleasure walk that goes up the side of this mound. But if we go up to the top of the mound,
Wonderful.
by the bandstand, you can look over and see the layout of the old keep, or the fortifications of the keep,
Right.
which are turned into a Victorian rose garden.
This is wonderful.
Lizzie and I created the garden around the outside because there was nothing. There was a couple of very narrow beds and a couple of big Victorian cherries which fell over.
How clever. It's actually really, really clever. This is not what I was expecting when you said come visit the rose garden.
I know.
I mean, I know they're not out right now, but I was not expecting this. This is sensational.
And then the round bit is where all the gun ports were. And then if you go this way,
Yes.
Julie, you can see the dominance of it over the rest of the castle. No, but it's rather wonderful to feel that actually we've been able to do something in this garden to leave a bit of a legacy with this creation of the new garden here, linking, and given it's only 15 years old, these yews have done amazingly, and that they're now the same height as the yews on of the Victorian
It's
garden.
incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I like what you said. It's just, it's always adding on, every generation, adding on to what is already there, but putting your mark on it.
Leaving a little bit.
Yeah, leaving a little bit. I will definitely have to come back here in June.
You
do you
need
think?
the end of June, the best weekend, the end of June, beginning of July, is when the roses suddenly come out. We're not a rhododendron azalea garden, we're limestone, but roses love this place.
But roses, it's all about the rose here. I love it.
There's a long list of tasks that need to be done every day at Rockingham Castle. I'm meeting up with caretaker Pete Smith to lend a hand.
Morning.
Hello. I'm ready.
Good. You ready for it all?
I'm
Let's do it.
I'm so excited. Let's do it.
Okay.
Which
so
way?
To the right.
Pete lives on site here at Rockingham, tending to the fabric of the building and making sure everything is shipshape each day.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
You're in.
There's a lot of keys and they're heavy as well.
Yeah.
So, and you carry them around all day.
All day, just in case we need a key.
All right, what's the plan?
So, head down this way.
Yep.
We'll do the fire. Check the fire, make sure it's still lit. Put a log on it.
Yeah.
Then through to the panel room, naval lobby, library, stone passage.
How many steps are we going to do?
Around about 20,000 today.
Great. Just in the castle, we're going to do
Just in the
20,000.
castle. Yeah, just in the castle. So
You
if
don't have to leave the castle to get your
No, no.
daily amounts
No,
in.
up and downstairs.
Incredible.
So the first task is to stoke the fire in the Great Hall, and there's quite an art to it.
It's warmer in here.
A lot warmer.
A lot warmer.
Fire goes 24/7.
The fire goes 24/7.
It does in the winter months, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We'll go for a smaller log first.
Okay.
So if you pick up the front one,
Okay. Oh,
And
I
then-
like this little gate here.
that goes like that.
That
Please
goes
watch
like
it.
this.
Yeah, so it's leaning up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
If you do it the other way, it smokes.
Oh yeah. No, we don't. I
Yeah.
know about that. We don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want smoke.
No. Okay. So. all
That's
right.
it.
Like a little
Yeah.
bit more or here?
That's it. That's good.
Is that really? Mm.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay.
Bang on that.
And that's, you're just going to do this throughout the day?
Every time we walk past, if it's burnt down, we'll put another log on.
Incredible. So this
And we'll bring some more logs in later on.
Right. That is brilliant. Okay. Fantastic. All right, that's done.
Okay, so as we're walking around, we'll check all the lights.
I know all about light bulbs, Pete.
Make sure no bulbs are blown.
Yeah, but I mean, every day you must find one.
Every time we've got to walk around with your head up. Don't walk around with your head down.
All right,
okay.
So we can take this one off the list.
This one's off the list.
Great Hall, ticked.
Done.
All right. Whoa, this is dark.
Yeah.
Well, this is really dark.
Just on the right-hand side.
Just on the right-hand side, which there's like a lot here.
Yeah, the bottom one. We'll go for the bottom one.
Mine's like, there's.
And then the next one.
And the next one.
And the next one and the next one. So remember, you've got to check all the bulbs. All good?
Yeah, I think it's all good.
All right.
What about shutters?
2 bolts.
Yeah.
Just the 2 bolts up.
2 bolts up.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoop,
Oh,
it came
not
out.
right out. Okay. Let's put that slightly in and just turn it.
Never gonna be invited back. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
turn. Drop it
Okay.
down. And folds.
Yeah. Which way?
Like
It
that.
folds in. Yeah. And then it fits in. We have
And
these
fold
as
again.
well. Fold again.
And then it goes into that.
And then it goes into that. I love these.
Fold it again.
So fun. I'm sure you're much. I know that you're super fast at this. I know I'm taking my time.
That's all right.
I just don't want to break anything. Tick off the list.
Tick off.
Next
bulbs
room.
So next is the library. All 4 lights on.
All 4 lights.
Yeah, all
okay.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's interesting.
Press the button.
Yeah. So you've got button ones. We don't have. I like the button style.
Security.
I really like the button style.
So because we've not got visitors today,
Yep.
we can leave the blinds down.
We can leave the
'cause
blinds
it stops
down.
the sun coming in and fading the furniture.
Exactly.
There you go.
Right.
Some have got buttons, some haven't.
Some haven't. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And then your last one,
And I'm checking bulbs. What about those bulbs there?
they're non-usable.
Oh, they're decorative.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. Bulb.
Bulbs. All the bulbs are doing it. Stone passageway next.
What were
So
there?
before we
13?
go then, Julie, what we need to do, conserve electricity.
Oh.
We need to turn some lights off.
Oh,
all
you
off.
do? All off, 'cause now
Unless
you've
we've got
opened the windows.
visitors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Again, checking the bulbs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Thank you
Make sure all the bulbs are on.
for the reminder.
And then
More of
a
this.
bolt at the bottom. Yeah. Pull that up. Turn it. Button.
Yeah.
Push.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
You got it.
That one's a hard one, obviously.
Then fold.
Okay. This one. And here we go.
This is all very familiar, but takes quite a while. I think it even beats how long it takes to draw all the curtains at Mapperton each morning.
Check bulbs.
Check bulbs.
Did I check bulbs in there?
Yeah.
Just checking those. Yep, all look good.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I wanted one to be.
I know.
I know. They're up. You've
Come
done
tomorrow
such
and about 5 or 6 will be out.
Done such a great job. Done such great. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Shutters.
Yeah, shutters again.
Okay. How long have you been here at Rockingham?
4 years and 4 days.
Oh, it's quite lucky.
Yeah.
4 years and 4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And before that?
Before that, I was in the army. I was in the Household Cavalry,
No.
Blues and Royals.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So how many years were you doing that?
I joined in 1976 and I left in 1992.
That is a long time. So can I just ask, did you have to wear the
It's helmet
yeah
and plume
the plume?
and cuirasses
And you
or
did-
breastplates, people
Right.
call them. Did riding school. Riding school's good experience. Garter service at Windsor.
Yes.
Escorting
Incredible.
from Victoria Station to Buckingham Palace.
How many times have you been sort of inside Buckingham Palace, as in the gates?
Oh, inside the gates?
Yeah.
Too many times, I can't remember.
Right. Too many times you can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
That's incredible.
What we need to do is go upstairs now and raise the flag.
Okay, here we go.
So, through the door, put the light on. Light on the left-hand side.
More steps, though.
More steps.
More steps.
So we're up at the moment, we're on
Yeah, what are we?
1,929.
Okay, I'd really like to get to, we're going to get to that 2,000.
2,000?
2,000.
Oh, easily get to 2,000.
Easily, but this has been quick, and we've already
Yeah.
done 2,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've only got another 18,000 to go.
Exactly. I just got to stick with you all day long, and I'll get there.
So we've got 56 steps to do.
Here we are.
This is halfway.
What?
Well, 2/3.
We're going to
So
go.
we've got the gym. Now we're going further up.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, here we go. No wonder you're in such great shape, Pete.
Keep going.
We're hanging the flag.
This
Whoa.
is the flag. This is the ladder we're going up to hang
I
the
love
flag.
it. Okay.
So-
do you have a fear of heights?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Have you?
No, I don't have a fear of heights. I have a fear of cows. Do you have a fear of cows?
No. Why a cow?
No, I just.
The only good thing about that, there's not many cows up here.
I know. I haven't.
So we'll be all right going up
I
there.
know. I know. So I'm fine with
So you'll be
heights.
fine.
Not with cows.
Unless there's a cow up there. But I don't think there is.
Unless you knew about my fear and you stuck
Yeah,
one up
put
there.
one up there. Right,
I'm
I'll come
in.
up now.
And there's no cow.
There's no cow, that's good.
Just a height. No, I don't have a fear of heights, luckily. I love this. This is incredible.
Right,
Okay, I've never.
never raised a flag?
Never.
Never?
No, never.
Do not let go of the ends.
Okay.
If we let go of the ends, you know what we've got to do?
No.
Shimmy up the flagpole to get the
Okay.
rope.
Oh my God. Okay.
Or we could lower
Oh.
it down. What we
And
need to do,
By the way, what is this flag that we're
this is the griffin,
This is the
the
griffin.
family griffin.
The family griffin.
What we've got to make sure is it's the right way up.
Oh.
We don't want the griffin upside down.
Have you done that before?
Yeah. And put the Union Jack up wrong way as well.
Okay.
Being ex-military, that didn't go down well.
Okay. The griffin.
So there's the griffin.
Okay.
That's the top one. So we unhook them.
Okay.
I'm going to keep hold. I'll keep hold.
Okay, I'll keep
You keep
hold.
hold of that.
I'm holding
So,
this.
Yeah. That wants to hook through there.
Okay. Hook through here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
That's
hooked. Hold it.
Okay, so we can pull.
So now I'm going to pull.
You're going to pull until we get the bottom rope. So
Okay.
keep pulling. Go on, go on, go on. Keep going, keep
I
going.
love
keep going.
this. This is amazing.
All right. Hold it there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, through that one.
Okay.
Okay, got it?
Yep, got it.
I'll hold that. I'll swap you again
Okay, pull.
and pull.
Oh my gosh, this is so
Keep
much
going
fun.
till we get to the top.
Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. This is amazing. Okay, well, Pete, I think it looks pretty darn amazing. What do you
Yeah,
think?
it's pretty good. It's blowing as well.
How fun.
Yeah.
I know it's flowing.
Yeah,
So
and we
fun.
can see the griffin. And guess what? We got it the right way.
Thanks
That's
to you.
the best.
To celebrate the 950th anniversary of the founding of Rockingham, there are a series of events and festivities planned. And over the past 2 years, a group of embroiderers have been stitching the castle into the history books. Taking inspiration from the world-famous Bayeux tapestry, which illustrated the Battle of Hastings, the Rockingham panel tells its own story.
Hello.
Hello.
I was told I might find all of you here. Oh my goodness. This is the place.
This is where
where it's all happening.
This is where it
This
happens.
is incredible.
So we started in October 2019, and we're just in the last few stitches
Oh
now.
my goodness,
really.
this is brilliant. You know, what's so wonderful is that, of course, embroidery, when you visit historic houses and, of course, Rockingham Castle, there's embroidery everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's embroidery. It's such a wonderful sort of pastime.
It is.
And it's wonderful that you're, you know, bringing it up to the 21st
Absolutely.
century.
And this really is, even though it has William the Conqueror ordering Rockingham
Yes.
to be built, right down here we have 2021, which is when it was due to be finished, but COVID obviously has delayed it, with a COVID symbol and a little mask, and it's going to be ready this year. This year.
This is brilliant. So who came up with that clever design?
Our wonderful
Gail,
clever
that
artist.
that is very, very clever. So you have William the Conqueror, obviously. Is that right?
Yes. This is his crowning,
Okay.
his coronation. He was crowned immediately, so he could, because the coronation is the important part, so he could begin to take control of the rest of the country. And to do that, he ordered castles to be built throughout. And Rockingham Castle is one of those castles.
Of course.
That's the date along there. It was 1066 is the famous date of
Yes,
the battle.
of course.
1068 to 1071. That is the building of the castle here. But of course, originally it's a Motte and Bailey castle because here we're on an escarpment, we were in a forest, surrounded by woods.
Yes.
Very high up, so the remnants of the Motte and Bailey Castle is now the Rose Garden.
It's now the Rose Garden.
And the last half of it is the modern day Rockingham, with these Edward I's round towers.
Round towers there.
And we have the...
Wonderful.
We've got the family here.
And you've got, oh my goodness, yes.
So this is James in
Yes.
his Lord Lieutenant outfit. 2 daughters, Henry the son and Lizzie, standing, telling us all about the castle.
How fantastic. That is brilliant. And who's on the horse over there riding into?
That is from the Bayeux, so we've linked it.
Yes.
We put the traditional
Yep.
horse there in the modern park to link the panel together.
Fantastic, with the flag, riding with the flag, which I've just hung. So yeah, it was wonderful. It was absolutely, it was breathtaking. How brilliant. Can I just ask, what kind of stitching is this here? Because
It's called the Bayeux stitch, but it's couching.
it's called, okay.
And so you lay down threads
Right.
like this, and then you have to go over the top at right angles.
I see.
And just hold them down with a little stitch.
And-
So I'm just doing narrow pieces, but this piece will have been worked like that.
Exactly.
So you lay down the threads and then you go over the top in the
I
opposite 90-degree
see.
angle and hold it down with little stitches.
And the Bayeux was all
Done like that.
all done like
This
that.
is French knots,
Yes.
which would not have been on the Bayeux.
Right.
But it gives it
it gives it the texture.
depth,
Exactly.
very tactile.
But that looks complicated as well.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
So
So-
I did the French knots, and I did those specifically because this is how a motte was built. A layer of stones, a layer of dirt. I should have counted how many knots.
Yeah, I
I
know.
would love to know how many I did. It took, I don't know how many days.
Several.
So you do let people give a stitch, is that right?
We do. If you
Would
ask
you like a go?
Can I please do just one stitch? And I promise not to mess it up. It's just a stitch.
We
That's
have
all.
a thread ready for you to
Oh,
go
you do?
here.
Okay. Now I used to stitch when I was younger, but it was a long time ago.
We're just putting little yellow dots to look like flowers. So
Okay.
if you want to put some somewhere,
So I could just do one.
you just do one.
Just do one, everybody. Just do one, everybody. So I'll just go through here. Okay. And then I see, so you've got to go all the way under there. Find it. There you are. I might do a bigger one.
Yeah, go on. Do another one.
Next stitch.
Okay.
Be brave.
Okay, there we go. Oh, I'll go right here. Okay, yeah, I'll do a much bigger one. That was just a little speck.
Now be careful, you might have to go home and start your own.
I know. Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, what can we do for Mapperton? Mapperton was in the Doomsday Book, so I could do.
You
with this-
could?
I could,
You
know,
could.
start from there. There we are. Yeah, that is
You just bring
lovely.
the needle back up somewhere and then be ready for...
The next one. Sure, here we go.
That's lovely.
Okay. Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Our
for
pleasure.
letting
Thank
me
you.
be a part of the 950th anniversary of Rockingham.
What an exquisite historical record. And I'm so thrilled to see a traditional craft continuing here at the castle.
Hello,
Hello,
I'm Julie.
my name's Dean. I'm the
Hi,
head gardener.
Dean. Head gardener? Wow, amazing. I'm
Lovely to
honored
meet you.
to meet you. Anytime I meet a head gardener, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are absolutely incredible.
No, I won't go that far.
So wow, so this is, here we are in the Rose Garden, which
Yes.
my understanding is this is where the keep used to be. Is that
It
right?
is, yes. And if you look at the design of the garden, it's actually designed to look like a keep still, with the U being the different entrances. And we also have box-shaped U on the outside, which are the soldiers marching back to the keep. So we've tried to keep that so it's in keeping with what its original purpose.
So this is the rose, these are all roses here, yes.
They are. It's a traditional formal rose garden, which is not as common as it used to be, really. So.
And so
But
tell
yeah.
me what you're doing now. And are these, can I ask, because I know a tiny bit about roses, are they new roses or old roses or a mixture?
They're a mixture.
They're a mixture.
They are old style hybrid tea roses, which we
Right.
don't really use that term anymore, but these are the taller, larger flowering varieties. So,
Right.
Yeah, there is a
Brilliant.
mixture of all different things.
So I suspect it just must look absolutely spectacular.
It does,
And
yes.
Is it, what is it, end of June when they're in full bloom,
Probably,
would you say?
yeah, probably a little bit earlier than that here because we are quite sheltered with the yew hedge all the way around. So we have quite a long season of roses.
Right,
So,
well,
yeah.
that's brilliant.
And my observations from talking to people that have come is that it's a very romantic garden. And obviously there's nothing more romantic than roses. And you know, when you're working in here, it's really nice because you do see couples and they're often taking pictures of each other with the roses and things like that. So it's lovely, sniffing the roses and all those sorts of things.
That's so lovely.
So that's really nice. And we've got obviously the fantastic views and everything.
Yeah,
So yeah,
no,
it's a romantic
absolutely.
type garden.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've done a lot of planting right now. These are all new roses.
No, not all of them are new. A lot of it, we're in rotation. So we're rotating a lot of the older roses out. They've done their job and you know, it's time for them to have a rest as it were. And but we've got to plant lots of new roses, over 200, to get the garden back into where it needs to be. But the problem is that roses don't like being where roses were before. So rose replant disease is a real problem for a garden like this. And the old method, I mean, scientifically, we don't exactly know what causes it. Even now, with all the scientific discoveries we've had, we're still not exactly sure why roses fail. I mean, there's lots of pathogens and different things in the soil, but and so, you know, there's various methods of getting over that. But the main method that people have been using for years and years is the one where they take out all the soil and then replace that all with fresh soil and take all the old soil away. And the problem with that is it's not only back-breaking, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of cost, but also it's not very ecologically sound either. And so what we're doing, and hopefully successfully, is doing a slightly different method, whereas we're planting them in recycled cardboard pots.
So you're going to actually, you're going to put in the cardboard?
Yes.
With it?
Yeah, that's right. So it's...
I've never heard, is this something new?
No, it's not. It's not new. As anything in gardening, there's no such thing as a new idea. But mostly it would be something I would recommend somebody to do if they were doing one in a border.
Okay.
But it's not very often you do 200 of them. But yeah,
you're going to try it out.
This is going to try it out,
You're
yeah.
going to try it out.
So the idea would be is this little self-contained environment. It's got compost in there, and its roots will grow. In the first year, we'll take very good care of it and its roots will grow. And as the water penetrates into the cardboard, that will break down into the soil. And then the first tentative roots will go out into the old soil. And hopefully, because it's bigger and stronger by then, and we've taken care of it, it will be able to withstand any attack just as the old roses do.
Fantastic.
But all the cardboard as well, it's recycled from things that we brought in the summer, from the different packaging. So
brilliant.
it's all good, and the compost we made here ourselves in the woods. So
oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah. So it's local and it's
it's that's
recyclable. It's fantastic for the environment. All of that, right?
Hopefully, yeah, and hopefully, I wouldn't say it was completely work-free, but I think it's a lot less work than digging them all out and replacing them anyway. But what we want to do is make a round hole, and so we can drop it straight in. So yes, that's why we've got. So what we've got here are spades that we normally use for digging post holes.
Yes.
So not your normal spade.
No, not at all.
And then what we've got to do is measure how big the pot is against the spade.
Yep.
And then go for that height. So we'll move this line out the way.
Okay.
So if I do this one and drop her in, then you can have a go at the other one.
Okay.
So
wonderful. Okay.
It's all part of the process. So what we want to do, we want the edge of the pot, that's quite good actually, we want the edge of the pot to be just above, just above, because we don't want too much of that old soil to go into that.
Okay.
So, and then we just backfill.
And then you backfill it.
And basically, the other thing, there's no firming down, there's no
stomping
on it. We're not going to move any roots. And basically, we're going to let the weather do the job for us.
Yeah.
So what will happen there is that the frost and the wind and all those things will go in and compact that soil, firm it back round the pot. And then we've got a lovely growing environment. The only thing I would say is taking care of it is that you've got to remember until the cardboard breaks down, it's in a pot. So you've got to water it as if it's in a pot.
Ah,
yes.
okay.
So you've got to be careful with the watering when it starts off.
Right, so you've got to, okay. So where would you like me to make my mark?
So if you only go, they're about 18 inches apart.
Okay.
So quite close, but because it's a rose bed, we want it nice and full. And if you want to have a go there, and bearing in mind, you're trying to make a round hole.
Yeah, a round hole.
A round hole, yeah. So you've got to be, yes, more straight down the sides.
Okay,
There's lovely Rutland clay there for you.
That's right, exactly. Okay, I'm going to make this round hole.
Oh, she'll feel it once we've done 200 of these.
Yeah, is this only your first 2?
No, we've done a whole bed over there actually. So, but I've got a very good team as well. They'll be here helping me.
Yeah, because I can already feel this in my back. So
yeah, that's right. I don't think I'd like to do it all on my own. No.
No. I'm going to have to do some yoga after this for sure to stretch it out. And I've only done 1. Okay. But
it's yeah, still better I think than taking the entire 2 tons of soil away.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to just dig all that out.
I think we're getting there now, you know.
Okay, what do you think?
I think we're there, yeah. I think we're there, yeah. So we'll measure her up. The only other thing as well you've got to be careful of is that the pots don't get horrendously wet, because then you haven't got a pot, more of a mush. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
I think that's okay, because that one's quite deep in its pot, so
yes.
If you just backfill round that and
okay, so I'm just going to backfill.
Yeah, just gently
it.
backfill round it and push it back in, and we're good to go.
Okay. Okay. Here we go.
And hopefully you'll come back and take pictures of them when they're all flowering and wonderful.
We will absolutely come back, because you know this is, as you said, rose gardens. Just everybody loves a rose garden.
They do. I mean, we have so many wonderful plants these days, but you know, there's something about the mystique and romance of a rose that really, people.
All right, what
really
do you think
love.
here, Dean?
I think that's good. Yes,
I'm happy with that. Are you really happy with that?
Yeah, I am.
Me?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we shall remember that one. We shall label it.
I hope it survives.
Julie's Rose.
Julie's Rose. I really hope it survives.
Yes.
Brilliant. But listen, how fascinating. To be able to do work like this that also is environmentally friendly.
Hopefully,
good for the soil.
I think we all have to think that way now, you know,
yes.
And it's even if you're working in ornamental gardens, you've still got to, you know, lessen the impact environmentally. And of course we are growing things as well, so you know, that's good for the environment, everything,
of course.
Everything that we grow. But yeah, I mean, and also it's finding new ways to keep the landscape the same. You know, the old rose gardens are important. People love to visit them, and I think, you know, I'm very passionate about like keeping these rose gardens going and making them, taking them into a new age basically, but also keeping that mystique and romance. So.
Of course, and making sure that people, when they come back to Rockingham, they can, you know,
that's
take
right.
their photo. Embracing each other in front of a rose here.
Well, we do have people that have come here for years, and they've come back and they say, you know, we had our wedding here, or we had our wedding anniversary, and you know, they like to look at the roses and remember those times.
Yes,
so,
of course.
It's very good.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Dean. This was incredibly educational.
Thank you.
And I am looking forward to coming back here and seeing how Julie's rose is blooming.
How it's blooming, yes.
Exactly.
We should definitely mark it up.
Brilliant. All right, thanks, Dean, so much.
Thank
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Out of the winter chill, I head inside to the warmth of the Great Hall to meet Rockingham's archivist, Basil Morgan, who has kindly looked out for some fascinating documents from the time when Lady Faith Montague and Sir Michael Seymour lived here in the mid-20th century.
So Basil, how long have you been the archivist here at Rockingham?
Next year it'll be 30 years.
30 years.
Not all as archivist. It started out as a guide, but most of the time as archivist.
Most of the time. And has it been just fascinating over the past 30 years what you've uncovered?
Absolutely, yes. Because being an historian anyway, I used to teach at Rockingham School.
Right.
So the whole history side interests me a lot, yes.
With Michael Seymour, did he keep a lot of his correspondence, his letters, journals, as well as Lady Faith?
Very much so, yes, he did. She wrote to him, she was a regular correspondent. Her husband, the fourth baronet, she wrote to him all the way through the war, virtually daily, whether he was up in the Orkney Islands or whether he was at the Battle of Jutland or out in the Black Sea rescuing Tsarist. They were incredibly correspondent, and he somehow managed to get letters back virtually every day to her.
That's incredible.
Heaven knows how the system works.
Yeah, no, exactly, but it worked. And then with Faith, were you able to uncover some of her letters? Because they were married in 1947, is that right?
I think it was, yes, just after he came out of the Navy.
Yes, exactly.
The interesting thing about Faith is her connection with the novelist E.M. Forster.
I've read that, yes.
Who was a very big novelist before 1914, really, most of his novels, and they were about the Edwardian upper class, casting a fairly cynical eye over them. And we've got a lot of letters, about 70 altogether, that Forster wrote to Lady Faith. It started off when she had written a short story, and Forster was a great pal of her father's. So he said, well, send it to Forster, I know Forster. And we've got a letter where he writes back saying what it's like as a short story, being quite gentle with her.
Yes.
And writing back and saying, well, it's a short story, so you've got to be pretty concise. You haven't got much space, you know.
Right,
and from that, a friendship base became, and he came and stayed here very often.
Did he?
Yes, he often came here to stay for Christmas. In the end, he was inviting himself. Can I please come for 3 or 4 days?
Yeah. So they really forged a friendship.
They really
Faith
did form a friendship, yes.
Can I touch these?
Yes, by all means.
Brilliant.
In fact, I think, yes, that's the one you're looking at is the first one.
I can see you've numbered them.
Yeah, the very first one, commenting on her short story.
How, it's just wonderful just to see his
handwriting
handwriting
here. His writing is fairly readable.
Yeah, it is fairly readable. And then his signature here. Yes, I should like to come to Rockingham and to see you and Sir Michael. It is very kind of you to suggest it. Sure. How brilliant.
And this went on until, I think he died in 1970. It was very, very lengthy. Certainly, best part of 15 years.
How brilliant. He says here, could I come on the 25th for a couple of nights?
So yes, he really did invite himself by the end.
I generally spend Christmas, it sounds like by itself, in Buckingham, but he's asking if he could come.
And he always left something behind. He always has to write a letter, or she has to write a letter saying, we found your pen you left behind, or we found your... He always seems to have left something behind. Whether this was hoping he could pick it up the next time, or the next, I don't know.
Oh, this is so brilliant. And then what do we have here?
Well, that's something I've just found, or I've just noticed, an impression of Forster by Lady Faith herself.
I'm just reading a little bit because the thing that comes out is Hinchingbrook was the family seat. So that's where the first Earl of Sandwich lived up until my husband's grandfather. So that would be Faith's brother. Sold it in he sold it in 1955 and then bought Mapperton, which is where we are now, another historic house in Dorset, in 1956. But Faith lived at Hinchingbrook, which is 15 minutes from here, I believe, really quite close. So anytime I read anything or spot anything with Hinchingbrook, I'm really, of course, interested. And I just, if you don't mind, if I could just read something that I've just spotted. Our family home, Hinchingbrook, was only 15 miles from Cambridge, where Forster, a fellow of King's College, Cambridge, had rooms and was now living. He and my father were old friends, but had not met for some years. We drove through the great Gothic main archway and pulled up at the front door. During the war, Hinchingbrook was a hospital. And after the war, my brother, to whom the estate had been transferred, that would be Hinch, my husband's grandfather, found himself forced, partly for economic reasons and much to his regret, to sell the property. I'm going to get quite emotional here. Anyway, because it's just, it's one of those things that it's the family home, and then you just found this and you read this. And in 1962, the Huntingdon County Council bought the house for a comprehensive school. But in December 1955, that's when he sold it, the great house was empty and deserted. Before entering the house, I took Forster onto the terrace where Charles I and Oliver Cromwell once fought as boys. We stood on the terrace steps and admired the great semicircular bow window, the royal arms and initials ER on it in honor of Queen Elizabeth's visit in 1564. We then wandered across the lawn to see the medieval nunnery and from there into the main house. It was dark and lonely, but beautiful. Every room shuttered, and we looked at the furniture and pictures by electric light. Some of the furniture had been taken away, but most of the family portraits, the Hogarth, the Leleys, and the Van Dykes, still hung on the walls. Our tour took an hour and Forrester had not said a word. Then he rounded on me explosively. To abandon it like that, to leave it empty, just to clear it out. What will happen to all its art treasures? He was desperately concerned. Houses are important, you know. A house gives security. It's an anchorage. And then she says, I was seeing a new Forrester. For a second, I had a glimpse of his real identity underneath. And late that night, I wrote in my diary, the shade of Mrs. Wilcox, Howard's End. To her family, it was only a house, but to her, it had been a spirit for which she sought a spiritual heir. I'm so glad you found this copy, because I will immediately have to send this to my father-in-law, who grew up at Hinchingbrook. So Hinch's son is my father-in-law, the 11th Earl of Sandwich, and he grew up in Hinchingbrook. And I think these few paragraphs here really do sum up how I think we feel as a family, the sadness around losing Hinchingbrook House. But anyway, Basil, I just want to thank you so much. This has, I think, made my day.
Good.
I'm actually, I'm going to be just thinking about this the rest of the day, but this
I literally found that 10 minutes ago. It's catalogued, but I was looking through the Forster files for the letters.
Right.
And suddenly found that, and I thought, is that by Lady Faith? And it's signed by Lady Faith. Yeah.
Incredible. So thank you.
Not at all.
It's really hard for me to articulate the emotion that I felt today when I sat with Basil and we were looking through some of the letters that Forster had written to Faith. Of course, I have this huge interest in Faith and learning a little bit more about her because she was the daughter of Alberta Sturgis, the 9th Countess of Sandwich, who was an American like me and married into the Montague family. There was a whole range of emotions that overcame me when I started to read her memories of really the first time that she met Forster, and she brought him to an empty Hinchingbrook. Of course, that's my last name, Viscountess Hinchingbrook. And when I started to read really the sadness around that and the regret of having had to sell Hinchingbrook for economic reasons, and there was a real sadness that I felt, and I was overcome by emotion. But I'm so happy that Basil was actually able to find that. But for me, it was a sense of sadness and a sense of really remembrance of how these historic houses went through so much over the last century. Some survived and some were able to stay in the family, like Rockingham Castle, and some weren't, like Hinchingbrook, and they were either demolished or, like Hinchingbrook, made into a school. It was just wonderful to be able to read that account.
It's believed there's been a church on this site at Rockingham since the 13th century. But after the destruction of the English Civil War, in 1650, it was rebuilt. And, just as with the castle itself, each generation has added to it since.
There's something quite wonderful and really magical about coming into a church, but in particular this church. This is the parish church of Rockingham Castle, and it lies just beyond the castle walls. It was a lovely walk to come here, but I am here for a purpose, and that is to find the memorial that was made and created for Michael and Faith and their 3 young sons who didn't make it. So I'm here searching that out right now.
All around the side chapel are the most beautiful sculptures, but some were pieced together following the Civil War, when it's thought Sir Lewis Watson brought together fragments of the memorial to his grandmother, Dorothy Montague, with that of his father, Sir Edward Watson.
Oh, here we go. Wow. there right away. And here it reads, remember Michael Clem Seymour, 1909 to 1999, and his wife, Faith Montague, 1911 to 1983. Their 3 baby boys. The care they took of Rockingham and the happiness they found there and at Witherston. Now Witherston is a part of Mapperton, so there still is land that we have that is part of Mapperton Estate that is called Witherston. And the people who live at Witherston now, at the house that Michael and Faith were at, are friends of ours. And the many friends whose lives they touched. And what I really love here is that Faith is memorialized here alongside her husband, Michael, but also she's memorialized here next to actually one of her relations. So it's extraordinary to see that Lewis created this monument for his grandmother, Dorothy Montague, and his father, Edward Watson, side by side together, using the remains of other family monuments that had been destroyed by the parliamentarians. But it's just lovely for me to see that there are 2 Montagues here memorialized in the Watson sort of family vault, if you like.
When the Norman castle was transformed into an Elizabethan home in the 16th century, the room every fashionable house needed was a long gallery. And it's here where James tells me of a very special visitor to the castle in the mid-19th century.
Well, it's wonderful to bring you up here to one of our literary gems. It's so nice to have an association with someone who actually is such a giant of our literary history. Charles Dickens.
Incredible. Right away, as soon as I saw that, I thought there must be a story about Charles Dickens here.
We're not a particularly literary family, but it is rather nice. Richard Watson, who is the picture, the gentleman on the right, was the younger son of Lord Sons. Okay. Met Charles Dickens in Lausanne. Lavinia and Richard were on the Grand Tour.
Okay.
The equivalent of the Grand Tour.
Yes.
And they were staying in Lausanne, and then the villa next door was Charles Dickens and his wife. And they got on fantastically well.
This was to become a lifelong friendship, with Charles Dickens inspired by his visits to Rockingham, remarking to a friend in 1849, "Of all of the country houses and estates I have yet seen in England, I think this is by far the best."
And there are 2 really quite strong associations. 2 books are very associated with Rockingham. One of them is David Copperfield, and the second is Bleak House.
Right.
David Copperfield, Charles Dickens dedicated the first edition to Richard and Lavinia Watson.
Incredible.
And by chance, not really, but I have it here. And this is the original edition. And there's a wonderful story with it, which I only really, if I'm honest, I only discovered when I got the book out today, because I bothered to read the letter in the flyleaf, that Richard and Lavinia's children loathed Dickens with a passion. They were far from liberals, they were high Tories,
right.
hunting Victorian landowner gentlemen who did not like anything that sniffed of any liberalism. And they sold all of the Dickens memorabilia.
You're kidding
me. So all the letters went to America. All of the books, anything that was to say to it disappeared. And this one appeared in a bookshop with a book dealer in London in 1902, and it was bought by the 3rd Sir Michael. So Michael Clem Seymour's grandfather.
Grandfather, wow.
Who was married to Watson.
So 52 years later, in one sense, after it was signed, it was found.
And it came back.
And the bookseller contacted.
Yes.
Right.
And there's a lovely note in the letter sort of saying that it's obviously very important because it's got the private dedication.
Absolutely. Look at it. It says, affectionately inscribed to the Honourable Mr. and Mrs. Richard Watson of Rockingham, Northamptonshire. As a token.
As a token of such, so what's that, regard and friendship.
Yeah. This token
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens. So he was really, really close to
Terribly
Richard
close.
and Lavinia.
Yeah. And when he came to stay, Some of them were relatively short, some of them were slightly longer, and he said a total of 20 days here. And he took inspiration from his husband. He staged plays for the benefit. Now, who did he do?
How fun!
I know. Well, we've got a playbill here.
And would he stage them here in the Long Gallery? Do you think?
He certainly did one of them. They were staged here.
Amazing.
But he also staged another set. We're in the panel room.
How incredible! I'm just taking it all in. That Charles Dickens was here,
But
and there was a play.
This is a wonderful,
brilliant.
But this is a wonderful room to entertain.
Yeah.
It creates its own atmosphere.
It does.
He was such a showman, but he was always the lead actor.
Look at this. Rockingham Castle will be presented Monday evening, January 13th, 1851, used up. And you're right, Sir Charles Coldstream, Mr. Charles Dickens. To be followed by the interlude of A Day After the Wedding, Colonel Freelove, Mr. Charles Dickens. Then you have, the performance will conclude with Mrs. Inchbald's farce, Animal Magnetism, and the doctor, the lead is Mr. Charles Dickens.
That's the original.
So this would
That's
be
the playbill that would have been stuck.
Right, just for the household.
Well, I think that there may have been for other local friends as well.
But still,
sort of advertising it. I bet you he's never won to Mr. Shilling.
No, but it's brilliant. And also at the end, it says, the theater will be opened at 8:15, and the performance will commence at 8 o'clock. God save the Queen.
The Queen. So he used Rockingham as an inspiration, and he was actually very accurate in terms of some of the descriptions of the rooms and some of the characters. So Mrs. Rouncewell, the housekeeper, was a very accurate description of the housekeeper here at the time.
Right.
And I've got we're sitting in the Long Gallery at the moment. There's a lovely quote in here when he talks about how the evening shadows draw across the pictures. And as this is west facing with these big windows, you do get and as the sun goes down out over across the valley, it sort of the shadows draw across the pictures. And describing the portrait of Lady Dedlock over the fireplace opposite us, he says here, but of all the shadows in Chesney Wold, the shadow in the long drawing room upon my lady's picture is the first to come and the last to be disturbed. At this hour and by this light, it changes into threatening hands raised up and menacing the handsome face with every breath that stirs. But
So he's really describing, obviously, this room.
This room.
And that portrait there.
I would
possibly.
Possibly.
You
highly likely.
You'd bet on it. Yes. How brilliant.
So it's rather fun. So there's a very strong association with Dickens in here.
The friendship between Charles Dickens and Richard and Lavinia Watson was one of real affection, which is reflected in Dickens' works, but also in his private correspondence.
And he wrote the most touching letter at his distraught sadness at Richard's early death in 1852. He continued to correspond with Lavinia right up until his death in 1870. He wrote 2 months before, and actually we've got a copy of the letter here, where it says, "My dear Mrs. Watson, with the greatest pleasure I engage myself and Mary to you for the 2nd of May. You cannot too completely make me one of your family party. The dear old Rockingham days are always fresh in my heart, believe me. Ever faithfully yours, Charles Dickens." And that was written 2 months before he died. It's
incredible.
That relationship went on long after Richard Watson's death, and they were very close friends. Absolutely, and I can't tell you, we are so proud at Rockingham to have that association with one of Britain's greatest writers.
Absolutely, but also that you were able to, I think treasures here at these historic houses are so important. But when a treasure gets sold, and then you get it back, it's even more special and more extraordinary to even have that back in the family. So wonderful, incredible.
I couldn't agree more.
Each generation at Rockingham has left their mark on the building itself, but also out in the surrounding landscape. To mark the 950th anniversary of Rockingham and the year of Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee, James is planting trees across the estate and finding inspiration from those who have gone before him.
So Julie, this is a plan of the park and land holdings at Rockingham in 1815. And the reason I got it out is that it's really exciting. We've been looking at trying to do some really significant planting, and one of the ambitions is to plant 950 950 trees. Now, you know, and I know, that you can easily plant 950 whips in a belt and they'll disappear. Well, actually, we want to do something slightly significant. And so one of the things that I've been doing, it's been really fun, is finding some of the old maps, some of the old photographs, finding where avenues that we used to have, which have gone or disappeared, or lines of trees that have disappeared. So what I think is interesting about this map is that actually to shape the site of the park with the castle here, there's quite a lot of change.
Yes.
But there's this wonderful double avenue that runs in from South Lodge. And if you look at the photograph here, that is the double avenue
my goodness, it's
in
beautiful.
1910, and they were all elms.
Look at that double avenue. I don't think
this
I've ever
pho-
seen
yeah,
that before.
and this photograph, you've got the remnants of it, but they all died in 1976 of Dutch elm disease.
Of the Dutch elm disease, I see.
And Dad put back a sort of, it's not really work, but a mix of plain and beach.
Right.
Norwegian beach doesn't look good, and it's not a double avenue. It's sort of half a stand, half. And my ambition is not to go all the way down, but actually just to do it at the top. And so we're going to do that.
So that's where all 950 trees.
No, that's about 36.
All right, okay.
Well, maybe a bit more, because you have to place them every. We also took an avenue out here of dead sycamore. We're going to put those back. And I really love this idea of the sort of single belts of trees around the park. Now, we've got a belt there, but I'm going to plant on the other side a whole line, a single line, all the way from some sultry coppice all the way down back to the castle.
Oh, so this will be double line as well. Fantastic.
Now, we need to go and plant a tree to mark the Platinum Jubilee. So would you like to come and help me plant a tree in the wild garden?
I would absolutely love to do that. I can't think of anything better. Fun.
Let's go and do that.
The formal gardens here at Rockingham were redesigned after the Civil Wars in the 17th century. They're made up of a series of terraces around the castle.
We were talking about Dickens earlier.
Yes.
This terrace was part of his inspiration. This is where he conceived the ghost of Lady Dedlock. And this elephant hedge, we always say, we call it the ghost walk, or we call it the elephant hedge, because it was, I think, more regular in the 19th century, and it got somewhat misshapen. But actually, it looks like, if you look at it closely, it looks like elephants. It's wonderful. It's a well, we don't know how old, 400-year-old blue hedge.
It absolutely does. Oh my, how wonderful.
And then, if we go through this gate here, we're now going into the wild garden, and this was the access that the parliamentarians sacked the castle in 45.
Right.
And they came up this ravine.
And they went over the wall.
And they climbed over the wall scale. Well, I think Lewis Watson was lying in his bed thinking he was safe as houses inside his castle.
Walking through an historic garden like this, you realize how fashions and tastes change. By the end of the 18th century, formal terraces were being supplanted by the desire for natural-looking gardens. Lady Faith Montague and her husband, Sir Michael Cum Seymour, did much to revive the gardens when they lived here after the Second World War.
Both Michael and Faith adored the wild garden. This was where their passion was, in growing, planting trees, in recreating it. We're now, 60 years later, having to cope with the legacy of that. So many of the trees have come to the end of their lives, particularly the sort of prunuses. And so Lizzie and I are having really good fun going around filling the gaps and taking out some of the older trees. There used to be a whole line of beech along here, which was much earlier, but it's now given me the opportunity to plant underneath here. We won't benefit from it,
right?
But the next generation will.
But so this is where some of the 950 trees will be planted.
Very much so.
Fantastic.
And
wonderful.
Looking at them, we've already started. You can't see the Muller's estate there. We lost two big beech here, so we put a couple of specimens in. Now we'll wander down. We'll go back down the steep bank here to the pond. And you've got, so this is where the wild swimming happened, which
this is
so
where
love.
I would love to wild swim.
And there was a series of fish ponds down below us here. And this pond was actually created as a labour device in the agricultural depression of the late 19th century. And William Paxton, who built the Palm House at Kew, was engaged to design a series of ponds here. And there's a spring up on the bank just below that very tall sequoia that I was showing you earlier.
Right. So
And then it comes through here, and you'll find, if you look carefully, you might see the ladder because it got thrown in.
Oh my goodness! But can you swim? I mean, I would swim in this. I would want to.
No,
I would.
well, I would. Yeah, you're in here into about leaf litter about that deep.
Okay. Beautiful though. It is rather peaceful and
It's
beautiful.
very-
And I love that there was that little bench that we passed.
Yeah, it's difficult to imagine at this time of year. You know, you're deep winter and everything's in hibernation. You come in spring, in the summer, and this is just a sea of different leaf colours and things. And a lot of it's down to Michael's and Faith's brilliant planting of the mix of the trees. You have different greens at different contrasts.
Yes.
And it just has the most wonderful, as you say, until the midges come.
Until the midges come. Exactly. Oh, I know about them.
Now let's go and plant our tree.
So how many have you planted so far of
So
the
far,
950?
not remember. We've done about 30 in here.
Right.
In the garden.
Okay.
This is the 31st.
This is the 31st.
We're doing 38 in avenues. We're putting in a couple of shelter belts.
Right.
We're going to do some clumps in the park
Yes.
where it's got rather thin. So here we go. Here we go.
All right.
A
What am I
little Scots pine.
planting here? What am I planting?
You're planting a Scots pine.
Scots pine. Fantastic.
And it's been come out of its pot.
Yes. Yes.
So if you would like, if I pop it in there,
right.
and then if you'd like to take a little bit of that, use the spade. We can then, and then I might have to get the professionals to come and sort me out because you think I might know what I'm doing. It's not.
Well, how
not
do you
too
know?
sure.
How do you know I
Well,
know what I'm doing?
because you told me you've planted lots of trees, including one in Hinchinburg. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're
Exactly.
rewilding at
And I'm
Mapperton.
rewilding at Mapperton, you know. I've got to get used to this. This is
Yeah.
brilliant practice for me.
There you are, so
Brilliant
good.
practice. Got to
We
go
need a
all
little at the
around.
back. We need a little bit at the back here.
This is fantastic. Right.
You've done a brilliant job there.
Now, should I use all the soil?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
that's what I was
it needs.
thinking.
I'm
Wanted
sort of
to make
half
sure.
tempted. I might tip it up into that.
Well, yeah. Why don't you could do that because I'm kind of getting to the end.
I
of-
think you've done with the digging bit.
I think I've done with the
I
spade.
think it's not.
Fantastic. Top it up. Look, it's lovely. Yep.
I'll get Gary to come and sort it out. He'll probably dig it out and do it again. That's what he did last time.
I'm still going to always remember that I planted it. Don't let me know if Gary does that.
No, I won't. There we are. You are
done
a
it.
star. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you,
You
James.
planted my 31st tree
I
for the
love it.
950th of Rockingham, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Isn't that just wonderful? Part
know.
of the Queen's, and we'll register it with the Queen's Green Canopy.
That's right. And
Thank
I'm going
you
to
so
remember
much.
this day forever.
Ah, brilliant. Oh, that's wonderful.